Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers thoroughly outplayed by the Clippers on Sunday night. Can they fix what ails them before it's too late? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never ever behind paywall, and Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 27,000 subscribers are all getting a little concerned about what the Lakers are putting forward on the court these days. They lose to the Clippers on Sunday at the Intuit Dome. 116-102 is the final score there. Fall behind early, try to rally late, but way too deep a hole for the Lakers to climb out of. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. We noted, Andy, after the game against the Nets there on Friday, the Lakers are going to have to play significantly better if they were going to beat the Clippers. And what we saw was that they didn't. And a game that they won, they scored 102 points in each of them. Against the Nets, that was good for a 1-point win. Against the Clippers, it was good for a 14-point loss.
There are problems right now on both sides of the ball for the Lakers, particularly against better teams in the league. But in particular, the offense has become a real issue. And in a lot of ways, it reflects what you and I, our instant reaction to the DFS trade, which we both said we liked, particularly as a playoff trade and what they were looking for in the postseason. And obviously, D'Lo's postseason issues, well documented, don't need to be relitigated, yada, yada, yada. But as we both said, during the regular season, and this was always the complicating factor with trading D'Lo in the first place, he's a very useful player for 82 games. The other 16, say whatever you want about him, but the 82 games, they're having a difficult time, I think, replicating, in particular, his ability to move the ball without turning it over. I also think in a lot of ways they are missing his dedication, again, for all of D'Lo's faults, his dedication to trying to run an actual offense while he's on the court. Or if it's not D'Lo running plays quicker, right? There's a certain semblance of organization, even if it's sort of improvised pick and roll, right, read and react kind of stuff. They've lost the sense of sort of control that they had, and flow, and some sense of organization, even if the plays themselves are not called sets from the sideline. Sure. And I also think, and this is something I've brought up before, and I remember the comments section on the YouTube page took a lot of issue with this, and that's fine. Always feel free to disagree with anything Brian or I say, but I think this has been an issue for the Lakers over the season. I think it was an issue tonight. They take way too long to get into their stuff and get into anything. I mean, even if they're going to improvise and wing it the whole time, they take too long to get to the winging it section. And that, I think, plays at least a part, like a tangible part, in the reason why they have been turning the ball over a lot of late. They had 17 tonight, which turned into 21 points for the Clippers. They often, because they take so long to start doing anything, leave themselves in with very little time to do anything productive, which often leads to passes made from desperation. And then you just start getting into times where, since they're not doing anything, I think, super specific offensively, it leads to guys naturally not always being on the same page together.
Yeah, and I think the speed question here is, it's all related to what you're talking about. Like you get into stuff slower because the organization is just a step or two off, and you're in the ball pressure affects them a little bit more because they have in the starting lineup back when D'Lo, Reaves, and LeBron were all there. You had 3 ball handlers, ball movers. Then you drop down to 2, but at all times you tended to have at least 2 of those guys out on the floor. Most times you had at least 2 of those guys on the floor. When you didn't, you had Anthony Davis, who served as sort of a fulcrum in a different way to draw attention and things like that. And so now you're operating from a real deficit in that sense. And I get still it's not like that, you have choices that you have to make, and you make the choice with DFS, like that Dorian Finney-Smith addresses an issue for our team, like you say, particularly come playoff time. That is going to be very important for us. It shores up the defense, gives us a legitimate 3-and-D wing guy that the team hasn't had. Now, I will say this: we'll get to it maybe over the course of the show or this week. He needs to play more. I think if you're going to have him on the team, I think you need to bump up that role something more significant. But he didn't score on Sunday, and so you look through the lineup, and the first thing that I do now is I look at what the big 2/big 3, if you want to call it that, for the Lakers, including Austin Reaves in there. What did they do in this game? And the output was not nearly enough. You got 16 points from Anthony Davis, 5 of 14 from the floor. You got 25 from LeBron. That's pretty good. 9 of 20 from the floor. But after scoring 38 points on Friday, Austin Reaves was back down to 14. So you're talking 55 points from your 3 best players. And the Lakers,
he had more turnovers, Austin, than he had baskets in this game.
That's not good.
No.
And that is not enough. And it sucks that you have a team that's sort of set up where you're going to need a big chunk of points from 3 guys basically every night. But that's what the Lakers are. 55 points from those 3 guys is almost never going to win a game.
Unless I think you're operating the offense and distributing the ball in ways where, like, say, Rui had 19, 9 of 14 from the field, 7 rebounds. If you're moving the ball to where other guys can get more shots and they actually make them, in theory, more performances across the board, like Rui's tonight, could offset a night where, say, Austin only has 14. But that gets to another thing. And I'm not going to say that this is the point in the game where it was lost, because the Lakers had enough time, from what I'm about to talk about, to try to shore things up. And, just in general, 48 minutes, it's hard to pin it down to one thing. Mm-hmm. But there was a stretch late in the second quarter for about 2-ish minutes, like 2 to 3, where neither LeBron nor Austin was on the court. And the Lakers' deficit went from 6 to 12 very quickly. That cannot happen. You cannot have any even single minute over the 48, assuming you're still playing to win, where LeBron or Austin are not on the court. And that is on JJ to recognize you can't do that. It was, I believe, a group of Gabe, Dalton, Max, Rui, and AD. And I recognize that that's a point where you would look to run things through AD, and that's fine, makes sense. But if Gabe is your principal floor general, your offense will not run well enough. It simply will not function.
Especially given that there's no other ball movers there. There's no other organized. There's no secondary. Christie's not good at that.
The secondary ball mover in that situation is AD.
Right. There's so much going on here that, yes, you are correct. If you have, Rui got his points that make up maybe a little bit for
either AD or Reaves,
or either AD or Austin. But then you get 10 from Christie. That's sort of the baseline there. But then only 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block. It was the other stuff. Christie wasn't there. He had tough defensive assignments, but still. But no points I mentioned from DFS on only 3 shots. Gabe Vincent had 4 points. You did get 4 from Jackson Hayes on a couple dunks, alley-oops, and Connect hit a shot late.
I was going to say
another 3-pointer in the
10
second
points
half.
Are misleading.
They are. He had did have at least 1 3 in that. One of his 2 threes came in that stretch where the Lakers were trying to get themselves back in the game. But after the break, I want to get into the place where I feel like we are reaching if you want to start making judgments about JJ Redick and the work he's doing, where I feel it's just most nakedly obvious that things aren't going well right now. We'll get to it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it easy to have some fun and turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Let's say, as an example, I'm just making this up, you think LeBron is going to drop more than 30 points in a game, or Anthony Davis is going to have less than 12 rebounds in a game. You can pick stats like that, more or less, with all sorts of players across the league. Make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. And with Prize Picks Flex Play option, even if one of the picks doesn't hit, you can still double your money. Plus, you get the money fast when it pays out. Sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. You can keep the game exciting with Prize Picks. It's a perfect time right now to join. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. And you don't even have to win to get that bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
So, quick reminder, if you haven't been seeing the postcast of Dave Pele, check that out. But just as importantly, you see down there in the corner, the Locked On Lakers newsletter. You go to lockedondaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers, and you get the show and a bunch of NBA analysis from around the channel delivered to you every day. Definitely worth a sign up on your part. We certainly appreciate it if you could do that. And again, keep up with the show. So, look, I am generally deferential to a lot of things, that happen on the things that, going on in the locker room, reasons why a coaching staff does X, Y, and Z. Are you scripting something that isn't being executed? Whatever it is. All I can tell you is this. I never really expected for the Lakers to be an excellent defensive team or even a good defensive team. And they've had moments where it seemed like, oh, that's better than I thought. I consider that to be a win. I did expect that this regime would be able to usher in a better and more coherent offense than what they were able to do last year. And for the first stretch of the season, they certainly did. But the quality of the offense, just not even looking at like they scored 102 points in consecutive games, the points per game is really plummeted to an unsustainable level in the modern NBA and all that other stuff. You can just look at what they do and how they do it and compare it to the teams that they're playing, even bad teams, and look at it and say, that's not right. That is not good. And that is something that is deteriorated over the course of the season that JJ Redick and the coaching staff have not been able to fix. And whether it's because the players that they have can't implement what they're trying to do, or the coaching staff isn't doing the right stuff, or both, this level of performance for the offense is going to have them back in the play-in and possibly worse if it doesn't improve quickly.
Yeah, it's devolved pretty quickly in terms of, I think, not just execution and the ability to put points on the board, but I feel like discipline. Like, I've harped on this a lot over the course of the season. I don't think that they have the discipline or the patience to run through a lot of what feels like just organized sets. They don't, I think, look for AD
not even to be the primary scorer, but just the primary focal point, that is the way they looked best at the beginning of the season, whether it's also a matter of teams adjusting to that and the Lakers not having the adjustments to the adjustments. This is the part where JJ Redick, as a new head coach, this is always something difficult. I think more difficult for him than everybody else around the league, because quite literally everybody else is more experienced than him. But I also think that some of this is, when I talk about the lack of urgency at times, I think as a collective with this team, it's not just a matter of playing hard, even though that's obviously part of the equation. The urgency is how dialed in you are to everything that you're supposed to be doing, and how willing you are to go through steps 1 through 10 with each one, as opposed to, I think, often trying to, if you can, skip from 1 to 4 to 7 to 10 and see if you can get away with it a lot. I think not all of their turnovers, but some of their turnovers to me feel like the mark of impatience. Like they throw a lot of hit ahead passes that it's just like, guys, don't. Just don't.
Yeah,
don't
do
do
that.
Like run your damn sets. Do the things you're supposed to be doing, because I know that what they have been doing offensively over the last couple months is not what they're supposed to be, because the version of what they're supposed to be doing, we saw. We actually saw a different version of it. Again, if it's a matter of the league adjusting and they don't know what to do from there, fine. But that's not my read on it. We also should make sure, just to let it be known, because this affects potentially how the offense will be run moving forward. Austin Reaves, late in the fourth quarter, injured his knee, couldn't finish the game.
Bang knees with Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah, maybe if it had been a tighter game, he would have played through it. But at the same time, JJ said he wasn't sure how long, if at all, this will keep him out.
Reaves said after the game that he expects to play against Washington on Tuesday. But we'll see. These things always feel better the next day. Or, rephrase. It looks different the next day. So,
right.
It looked like he banged knees with DFS specifically. But yeah, look, if this gets to sort of the structural problem, if Reaves misses a game, you've got one reliable initiator, and that Vincent is fine, but I don't know what the right answer is. I agree with you that there's a lot of impatience there. And I think the league is absolutely adjusted to the stuff that the Lakers were doing effectively at the beginning of the season. And you see a lot of guys, I know we refer to the Lakers exceptionalism pod and those folks over there who really chart this stuff, saying that, the Lakers just aren't countering stuff terribly effectively. And so, the league is doing things differently. And they're working much harder, I think, first and foremost, to make Anthony Davis not beat them. You have individual things like the availability of offense for Rui Hachimura ebbs and flows. The complete disappearance of Dalton Connect from the offense has a massive impact on things, because there's just not any consistent bench scoring, any consistent secondary scoring. You're getting double digits a night from Christie, which is good, but it's like you got to get to 115 in the NBA of 2025. You need to be scoring somewhere in that 110, 115 or better range on a nightly basis. The Lakers are barely clearing 100 on many nights, and they just can't. They can't get away with it, and they're not talented enough to be able to sort of play imperfect basketball and imprecise basketball. To your point, they're on too many nights like tonight. They hit 9 3-pointers. You're not going to win a lot of NBA games with 9 3-pointers. The Clippers hit 11, which is really low. But the difference is the Clippers shot 58% in the first half of the game. The Lakers were under.
Well, the Clippers had 10 or 13 more recorded possessions in this game. The free throw battle, the Lakers, it was 19-14, but that's essentially a wash.
Right. And by the way, that field goal disparity that you're talking about was bigger through most of the game. The Lakers, when they made their, late, they were trying to get back in the game. When they made they turned the Clippers over 3 or 4 times over the course of that rally, which shrank that margin a little bit. But again, there's a difference between context matters. It matters if that run happens when you're already down by 22 against a good team versus when when it's a tie game.
Well, and also too, the amount of possessions that the Clippers had more than the Lakers was a direct reflection of a particular matchup where the Lakers absolutely lost. And it's a matchup or a scenario where if the Lakers lose this matchup, they more often than not lose games. So get into that coming up next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting, which says something because these NFL playoffs have been really, really good. This weekend was fantastic. Right now, new customers can bet $5, just $5, and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, that's $300 to keep the action going. FanDuel app is easy to navigate. The variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around for your winnings. And whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add a little excitement to the playoffs, a little extra something, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I thought the player of the game, not just for the Clippers, but period, was Ivica Zubac. Mm-hmm. There were nice performances, I think, kind of across the board for the Clippers, like Kawhi Leonard, 19 points in just 24 minutes, 9 of 13 from the field. James Harden, low shooting percentage, but still had 12 assists, 21 points, had a couple
pretty positive impact on the game, I thought.
Yeah, a couple pretty big buckets. And Norm Powell, he deserves, I think, to be on the All-Star team, man. He has been so good this year. And, another strong night for him, 22 points, 9 of 17 from the field, also had 3 steals. But Ivica Zubac in this game, 21 points on 9 of 16 from the field, 19 rebounds, 8 on the offensive glass, 8. The Lakers had 5 as a team. Ivica Zubac had 8. Plus 3 assists and 3 blocks. Like, his impact on both ends of the floor in this game was not just fantastic, it was way more productive and effective than what Anthony Davis did. The Lakers, I was just going to say, the Lakers rarely win games where AD, if you look at his counterpart, outplays him, like in that decisive a manner, and out impacts him like that specific counterpart. The Lakers rarely win games.
And I'm willing to give AD a little bit of grace here on the defensive side because, some of these offensive boards and opportunities open up because Davis is sort of expected to be in 17 places at once and can't do it. Like, if he's got to come off and help, it opens the glass and all these other things. And there are a lot of times where he had to just, he got to react to try to protect, and either that leaves a player like Zubac open to get an easy offensive rebound, or another player. Like, there's just too much of that. But on the other side, 5 of 14, just can't. I mean, you can't have 5 buckets for him. And if you are going to get 5 buckets from Anthony Davis, it needs to come with, 17 trips to the free throw line or something like that. We have spoken many times, the everydayers certainly, I think, have heard it before. The Lakers are constructed in a way that their star players have to produce every night. That's it. And some nights are going to be more efficient than others. Some nights you're going to look at AD and he's going, oh, yeah, he got his 27, but it took 26 shots to get there. It wasn't a great night. The statistics are misleading or whatever, but he got there. 16 is not enough. 5 field goals is not enough, and 6 free throw trips is not enough. And I'm not blaming it just on him, because as we mentioned, Reaves is didn't provide it. I think AD's foot, I doubt, is even moderately healthy, and he's being asked to do twice as much work as he ought to have to do on the defensive side of the ball. Be that as it may. I mentioned, Andy, before, I don't know if it sounded alarmist to people, but I think I said it in the cold open, the Lakers got to figure this out, or it's going to, before it's too late. They're only 3 games behind Denver as games finish on Sunday night. They're only 3 games behind Denver for the 4 spot. The Lakers are 22 and 18, 12 games behind Oklahoma City, but again, 3 behind Denver. They are only 3.5 games ahead of San Antonio, who is in 12.
I know.
And if you ask me, which 3-game gap feels more relevant right now, it is not the 3 games that they are behind Denver. It is not too early to sound the alarm, and they're so bad and so out of sorts right now on offense. I don't think they can play really good defense while the offense is this bad.
JJ actually alluded to that after the game about how this was a night where the offense failed the defense. And he even said, you look for your offense to help out your defense. And it's something we stress a lot, that good offense often allows for the best version of your defense, but part of that defense is the 8 offensive rebounds that Zubac was allowed to get. The Lakers lost the second chance points battle 15-7, which isn't great, might not sound incredibly lopsided, but then when you combine that with 17 turnovers that became 21 Clippers points, in a lot of ways, that's your ball game. And even if you want to put away the numbers and you just look at impact and control of a game, Zubac completely outplayed AD.
Mm-hmm.
And you are correct that the asks of AD are high. That is also that's the terrain that comes with being a superstar. Correct. That is also, to quote Don Draper, that's what the money is for.
No question.
This is the gig. And I don't say that to sound like some fake hard ass or whatever.
No, I wasn't trying to. I wasn't even contextualizing it in an effort to spare him from the criticism. Right. Only from the offensive side, that's to me is where I look at the defense. It's okay, but the offense, he's being outplayed and he cannot be outplayed. As good of a season as Zubac is having, AD can't get outplayed like that.
No, and the Lakers, we've mentioned this many times, they can be a good team. The margin of error that they are lacking, which came up also post-game with JJ, they need to shrink it as much as they can in their favor through the control that they have over games. You're not going to play perfect. There are some nights where you do the right things and the shots don't drop, or teams hit difficult shots against you, or the ball bounces. There was a play where the Lakers played really good defense and the Clippers ended up retaining possession because a miss bounced off Rui's face and went out of bounds. The offensive rebound just ricocheted. Weird bleep happens. But they need to control what is controllable more than they have been doing of late. And again, I think a lot of that gets back to just a sense of urgency when they are on the floor that I don't think is necessarily this group's collective makeup.
And I think it's hard to show. It's hard for that urgency because again, Redick said he thought they played hard, and I don't think they loafed their way through this Clipper game.
That's not even what I'm talking about.
I know, but and so a lot of times when people hear a sense of urgency, they're not trying, they're not playing hard enough, and I think they do need to, I think, crank it up whenever they can, like even if it feels unsustainable for the rest of the season. When you are this discombobulated, when you're this disorganized, when you have clearly lost confidence in what you're trying to do, it's hard to get that urgency. It's hard, because you're like grasping at nothing. Like there's nothing there to hold on to tie the group together, to get that feeling back of like when, we are playing with a sense of purpose and a sense of togetherness and a sense of urgency and all this stuff. It's, and I'm not saying they all hate each other, but the on-court product, you remember, I think it was like the Oakland A's, they used to call it, like, 24 players, 24 taxi cabs. Like they all leave because they hated each other. They all leave in, separate cabs from the stadium. None of them want to hang out together. The Lakers are doing the basketball equivalent of that on the court, where it's like 5 different guys on the floor, none of whom seem to be connected in any meaningful way to the other guys. And until that gets fixed, until like all of these circles and moving parts line up again in a way that is coherent to the people on the floor, none of this is going to look good. No, they're not going to get, they're going to look a step slow. They're going to look confused. They're going to look all that stuff because they kind of are. And I don't know exactly what they're going to do to fix it, because it's not like they are flush with so much offensive talent that they can kind of just lean on it to get them through.
It's fortunate right now that a lot of the teams chasing them are dealing with their own stuff. Like Dallas is going to be without Luka for a while, and they've got other injuries as well that they're dealing with. The Suns are kind of a mess. The Timberwolves keep taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. The Warriors are kind of a mess. Like they are lucky that there are not, other than the Kings, who, ever since firing Mike Brown, say however much you want to say it's connected or not, they have been winning a lot of games ever since then. The other teams behind the Lakers are reasonably helping them out, but you can't count on that forever.
No.
Like at some point you need to be the team that's doing yourself the favors, as opposed to relying on the rest of the teams behind you to keep screwing up
and look at it,
staying injured.
And so you get Washington on Tuesday. We can quit here. We'll talk about it, ahead of the game on Tuesday. But Washington comes to town Tuesday. That's a game you got to win. I mean, there's just no. It's the next version of the Brooklyn game. You just have to figure out, poorly as you're playing, have to win that game. I actually think they will. But then it's the Celtics. I don't care where you're playing that game. That's not an easy one. As sort of off as the Celtics have been by their standards, they're still pretty good. And from there they go on the road. And now the road trip doesn't shape up to be the worst. Golden State, not a brilliant team, a team that has struggled in a lot of places and have been a very ordinary home team. Like it's not like they're dominant up there and just suck everywhere else. So that's seems like a winnable game. And then you have Charlotte, they kind of suck, and Philly is a tire fire. You see Washington again. It's not until the end of the trip where you get New York and the Clippers again, where you look at it and you say, wow, those are high-end teams. But the problem is, Andy, the Lakers have been so bad on the road that you can't look at it and say, well, a game in Charlotte is a game that you would expect to win. A game in Washington is a game you would expect to win. They're playing so poorly and have been so bad on the road that I don't think you can count any of this stuff. And so, you go 2-4 over the next 6 games, something like that. And, the standings can look very different very quickly, especially if one of those losses is to Golden State, one of the teams that's chasing them.
I know the team had a pretty recent meeting, I think, with JJ, and he had challenged them to a lot of different things, including the leaders of the team to be more vocal leaders, for everybody to be more vocal leaders and, better leaders in their own right. I know anybody who works any job knows this. After a while, you have too many meetings, they all bleed together and they become totally useless.
That could have been
might be time for another meeting though.
Yeah.
Or something. Right, they might need to do something,
and then,
take a retreat to Dave and Buster's. I don't know, but they need to do something.
And turn it back to Reddick. I think the onus is on Reddick to fix it. Like, they at the very least, they've got to come up with other plans that could be better than what they're currently doing. They just got to start looking different. And so we'll see. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 27,000 subscribers who are all very angry. So if you're angry, you'll be angry right along with everyone. We'll see everyone tomorrow.